Hello and welcome to Candidacy. Congratulations. Once you get past this, you're basically that ABD status almost. So I'm super excited for you. I need to really drill down on what it means to get through candidacy. It is supposed to be the hardest part of being in a doctoral program. That's on purpose, because if you can't write this literature review that you're getting ready to write for candidacy, then you're most likely not going to be successful at the dissertation phase. The dissertation is actually easier, at least I found that in my program, because by the time I got to my dissertation, I truly understood what it meant to write at a doctoral level, which is what this course is going to be about. So you are going to be pushed to the limit to make sure that you can do this. So a few things of note. So basically what you're doing is you're writing a literature review. And if you've never written one of those before, and at the doctoral level, like if you have not done that in any of your coursework yet, you're really going to want to watch the videos and read the book that I provided for you, because this class is, it is not easy, right? Writing this it's got to be done in a certain way. So I'm going to give you some pointers just to kind of help you off and running in a positive way. So first and foremost, a literature review is, like I have said in other classes if you've taken them with me, that it's a bunch of scholars sitting in a room and having a conversation about whatever your dissertation is going to be on. Now, it's important to note that this is still going to be in third person, even though you are entering into the conversation. In a master's degree, you didn't really enter in. You allowed the scholars and stuff to speak for you, and that was, kind of how you did research. This is going to be a little bit different. You are going to really drill down on having this conversation where you are entering into it, but it still has to be written in third person, academic tone at a dissertation level. So get out your handy dandy thesaurus. That's going to be really important. So you want to get rid of all cliches, all contractions, anything that is not formal. You need to get rid of it. Almost every sentence that you make, especially if it's ascertaining something, must have a citation behind it. And honestly, I would say most of the time there should be multiple ones. I will give an example inside the course so you can kind of see what that looks like. But it should absolutely be source after source after source, and yet it should make sense. And so you want to make sure it's APA 100%, must have the formatting correct. So that is also something for you to go look at, is the APA manual. And so the in-text citation, excuse me, and the reference page should all be APA. All right, so make sure that you are doing that. Like I said, it's 100% research. You must have a minimum of 30 sources. That is actually the minimum in a dissertation. So when you get to your dissertation phase, you'll still be adding to these sources. They should be in all different formats. So it's okay to have some books, some journal articles, maybe going to a website that is an EDU or a GOV. Do not use .coms unless it's a very credible source. Not very common. Go to the libraries, whether it's the Wayland Library or if you have access to other libraries. I'll tell you what I did for my master's thesis that was really helpful, and this obviously we're at the doctoral level, but I just found that this was a super helpful thing to do. And I wish I had done it at my doctoral level. I think it would have been helpful. I lived in San Diego at the time, so I went down to the San Diego State Library, and I walked around and I pulled out actual master's thesis and I looked at them. And you can do that too. You could go down to an actual library, if there's any state schools where you're at or whatever, and go in and pull out dissertations that people have done in the past. It just helps you sometimes to see them. If you are in Plainview, stop by. I can show you mine. I can probably show you some of the other professors here if you need to see one. If you have people in your life who are doctors, go look at theirs, because it is unlike any writing you've done before. Now, if you've been in my courses, I've been trying to push you to get to that level so that by the time you hit it, you're like, I totally got this. But it is imperative that you can prove to us that you can write at this level, and then you will stand via Zoom. So maybe you won't be standing, maybe you'll be sitting like I am right now, but you'll be on Zoom and you will present what you are trying to do your dissertation on and what your literature review has revealed. And then you will do a quick explanation of what you hope to discover. So that is kind of where we are at, and then that committee will determine whether or not you move on. If you do not move on, this is a credit or no credit class. It does not affect your GPA. However, you cannot move on to any other coursework until you finish candidacy. So in other words, if you fail candidacy, you're going to have to you'll have to drop your courses in the next session, and you'll have to take candidacy again. So basically you keep taking it until you pass it. Well, actually, I think there's a limit. You might only be able to take it like 3 times. I'm not totally sure. I forget. I'll have to look in the handbook. If you have a handbook, look in the handbook. It's in there. Okay, so that's kind of where we're at. If you have questions for me, please do not hesitate to ask. So here's the format. It is a work at your own pace. So if you finish everything in the first week, cool. We will move on. And honestly, I'm going to be straight up honest with you. In my doctoral program, it saved me profusely. So I worked on mine ahead. I actually had everything ready to go in week 1 of my course, which you didn't get it ahead of time, but you can, you do that. And then what happens, like, do it right as soon as you can. What can happen is if you give it to me and it's not acceptable, then you have more time to get my edits and my critiques and the things you need to fix. So I actually had to fix mine 3 times. And had I not done it early, I would have not made it through candidacy, because my last one they accepted and I moved on. So same for you. The sooner the better. Don't wait until week 5 or 6 to start writing this stuff. Get that literature review going. There are 3 parts. The first part is watching this lecture and then creating a proposal, which I'll have a template for you, on what you want your dissertation to be on. The sooner you turn that in, the sooner you get it accepted for part 2. Part 2 is creating your bibliography. You're doing 30 sources. Like I said, they can be all different sources. However, they must be 5 years or later. So it must be, or how would I say that? 5 years. It can't be older than 5 years. There we go. It can't be older than 5 years. And so you will need to turn those in. So as soon as you get those into me, I approve them. And then 10 of them, you'll want to make an annotated bibliography for those. Those can be turned in at any point. You don't have to be approved for your annotation to move into your part 3. Your part 3 is the literature review, and this is taking all 30 sources and synthesizing them with your own comments, but every comment you make must be backed up with someone else agreeing with that comment, okay? I cannot emphasize that more. It should be like every sentence, basically, unless it's just a sentence that's kind of setting up for the next sentence, it should have a citation behind it, and multiple citations are even better. And like I said, look at what I will send, or will put in there for you, and you will know what I'm talking about. Like I said, the sooner you get it in, the sooner you get feedback. and you cannot move on to part 4 until part 3 has been approved by me. Once your part 3 is done, it's been approved, then you will present it to the committee, and I will have basically 1 or 2 other people. I usually like to have an odd number, 1 or 2 other people join me and on a Zoom call, and then you will present your proposal and what you found in your literature review and what you plan to do for your methodology. So that's where we're at. If you have any questions, please reach out, and I thank you for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.